Okay, hello everybody. My name is Max and I am the CEO of TranslationReview.ai.
Are you recording?
I am recording
Okay, great.
and I have a collaboration with Emily to provide translation and international publishing support so that you all can sell more books overseas. And my company aims to solve one of the biggest problems faced by English language authors. And that problem is market saturation. So, after the self publishing gold rush of 2009, the English language market has become flooded with books. So much so that authors like myself and you all are forced to compete or even to pay for discoverability. And this makes independent publishing more expensive and more risky. And let's just get a quick show of hands. Who's paying right now to promote their book? Facebook ads, Amazon, yeah. Right. And that's because of market saturation. We're all competing for the same pool of readers. Now, the economic theory behind market saturation says that we have two ways to respond. And independent publishing is a wonderfully innovative industry to work in. And for years now, we've seen authors coming up with increasingly innovative ways to sell their books. For example, who sells direct? Who has a website? And who's ever used Kickstarter to launch a book? What about subscriptions? Does anybody have paid subscriptions? Ream? Yeah?
No.
Not with Ream. What platform do you use, Donna?
I thought you were meaning like KDP, KU subscription.
Okay,
services.
so I mean subscription services. For example, I might pay $3 a month to be one of your subscribers, and for that $3, I might get a new chapter every month.
Stephanie does that with Substack too.
Right. My example is always Ream, but there are plenty of different ways to sell subscriptions. And actually, you can even sell subscriptions direct using your Shopify. Does anybody have an audiobook?
I do.
Okay, and
I do.
Did you use ACX to produce it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's another really great example of authors being innovative to sell more books. And another amazing example, has anybody heard of Scaremail? So Scaremail is an author, David Viegatz, and he writes horror. And a few years ago, he launched a direct to mailbox service where you subscribe and every month you get delivered to your house a new chapter in the story, some character art, maybe a little giveaway, and he has built a multi-million-dollar business based off of Scaremail simply because horror categories in English are massively oversubscribed. It's very, very difficult to get your book in front of readers. Those are just some examples of the ways which authors are innovating. But there's another part of that quote at the end, and that's find new markets to grow. And this is the least explored option. And when we say find new markets, what we mean is foreign language markets and translation. And let's see, has anybody translated any of their books yet? Sue, I know that you've been thinking about it for a while.
I've been thinking, haven't done it yet.
And why not? What's been holding you back?
The cost.
Exactly. So up until very recently, international and foreign language markets have been completely inaccessible to independent authors, with the main barrier being the price. A traditional human-only translation is going to take approximately 12 months, sometimes longer, depending on the length and the genre. and the price is eye-wateringly expensive. And authors that are going for a human-only translation should expect to wait a very, very long time before getting their translation back, and an even longer time before seeing a return on their investment. Meaning it takes a long time to make 8,000 euros back. Now let's compare that with an AI-only translation, which can be ready in a matter of minutes and costs as little as $80 to $100. So the advantages are obviously the speed and the price, but the downside is that the quality is variable. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the AI handles different genres, different writing styles better than others, and therefore you can get sometimes a very poor output. And realistically, if you have any respect for your readers, publishing raw AI content of any kind is a big no-no. And I think every author knows that it doesn't matter how good your marketing plan is or how fancy your cover, the most important factor for success is reader enjoyment. The book has to be good in French, in German, in Italian. It doesn't matter. Now, our solution to this problem is hybrid human AI translations. And this is a model that combines the efficiency and the speed of AI with the professional experience and expertise of human translators. And you can see some of the team there. So for the first time, high quality translations are affordable for independent authors and at a much faster turnaround, meaning that you can start getting a return on your investment much sooner. And the good thing about that, I mean, obviously it's always better to get a return on your investment sooner rather than later, but one of the really positive aspects of that is that we're seeing authors with the ability to stagger and stack their publications internationally. For example, maybe putting the first 3 books out in German and then waiting until they get a return on that investment before doing the next 3 books in their series. And we have some authors with 22, 23 book series that have done the whole series in 3 book chunks, and each chunk has paid for the next chunk, if that makes sense. Any questions? All right. Now, I'm sure you know, and Emily will speak to this, that writing the book, getting the book finished, translating it is not the end of the process. And in many regards, finishing the book is actually the beginning. And what happens after is marketing. And the good news is that reaching new readers in foreign languages is not as difficult as it sounds, and it's not as difficult as doing it in English. So, go to the next one. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about European language markets. And when I say European language, I don't just mean Europe. I mean anywhere where a European language is commonly spoken. So obviously mainland Europe, Germany, France, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Holland, Dutch is a really good one. Swedish, we're seeing authors getting a lot of traction in Sweden with Swedish translations, which is actually a kind of a weird one because the level of English in Sweden is something like 98% of people in Sweden speak English fluently, but they like to read in Swedish. And then, does anybody recognize the gentleman on the end there? That's Bad Bunny, and that's Latin America. So you don't.
That's hilarious.
You don't just sell your Spanish translations in Spain. In fact, you might sell more of your Spanish translations in Latin America, and the same for Brazilian Portuguese. And what can we say about European language markets? Well, in general, they are still dominated by traditional publishing houses. But that's not necessarily a bad thing for us, because traditional publishers are very slow to respond to emerging trends and very often fail to capitalize on new methods of marketing and community building. And why do I say community building? Because the future of successful marketing is community. And as a result of this, these foreign language markets are very hungry for new books and for new authors. And if you have a very innovative, author-first sales and marketing strategy, you can have a very bold impact in your target market. And the reason for that is because strategies that are very common in English have a strong impact in Europe because readers are less jaded. For example, selling direct from your own website is quite a new thing in Germany. Lead magnets, having that freebie that they can sign up for, is massively popular in Spain and Latin America. Giveaways also, we tend to see foreign language readers are more inclined to sign up for your newsletter. And it's also much cheaper to advertise in foreign language markets. Let's see, go here. So, cost per click in Europe is often less than half the price of that in North America, and in Latin America and Asia it can go as low as 3 cents per click. And then let's break it down by market. So North America, we're looking at 50 cents to $1.50 right now on Facebook. And yes, North America is a or English language is a very big audience, and you have the highest spending readers. However, it's the most expensive market to advertise in, and that's why in general, English language markets, mainly North America, is the hardest market to make a profit. Let's compare that to Germany. It's the second largest Amazon market in the world and one of the strongest non-English book markets. We see readers buying lots of ebooks. Ebooks are very popular in Germany, and Facebook ads work really, really well with a cost per click of 50 cents to $1. France, one of my favorite foreign language markets, French people buy on average 17 paperbacks a year. It's often slightly cheaper than Germany. Right now we're seeing anything between 40 to 90 cents CPC. And one of the things I like about France is that they're very hungry for new books. And I would say Germany is definitely our most popular language right now, but France is not far behind. And depending on your genre, I might even recommend France first. Spain, probably the cheapest in Europe. It can sometimes take longer to find your audience in Spain, and we've been seeing authors getting slightly better traction by using data analytics to improve their keywords. Because maybe you don't realize that your category on Amazon.com, where you sell the most books, may not exist in Spain or Italy. The categories are not the same. And we find that in Spanish, in Spain and Latin America, sometimes there's a little bit of experimentation required to find your home. And then Latin America, extremely cheap clicks. The downside is that book prices are a little lower and readers tend to spend less money on their books, which is why I recommend Kindle Unlimited as an option, maybe as an experiment, putting your books into Kindle Unlimited and doing an ad spend on Facebook and seeing if you make your money back that way. And if it doesn't work, you can always go wide. So, Germany, I would say, has the best combination of reader spending power and manageable advertising costs, which is why, like I said, it's our most popular language. And to give you an idea, here we go. This is what I would recommend at the very least, what you would put aside for your Facebook ad spend for each of the countries. And I don't want anyone to get scared, because the idea of throwing 300-500 euros a month at Facebook ads may seem daunting, but the good news is that we are seeing authors making this money back. And there you can see Spain, Mexico, Brazil, they are the lowest CPC, but you will expect to sell your books for slightly less. Now I am going to... Okay, let's stop here. Any questions?
On the slide that you had with the cost per clicks, you said Germany is 50 cents to $1.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you said for the US also. Is the US higher than that? Because you said the US is higher.
Yeah, okay.
US is $1 to $1.50.
That's right, and that's the range. And it really depends on how you're managing your ads and how you're monitoring them, because there really is an art to it, to keeping your CPC as low as possible. It also depends on your genre and what groups of readers you're targeting within that market. And that's why there's a range. So it's 50 cents to $1.50 in North America. And Emily, I don't know, when was the last time you had a CPC of 50 cents for North America?
No, it's
Not
in
recently.
the 9 cents mostly.
Right.
All right, so let's say that we don't want to pay for Facebook advertising, because is there other ways we can get our foreign translations to be seen?
Yes. Well,
Are we going to talk about that?
yes, and this is me just giving you an example of the economics of international publishing and how it
Okay.
works, and we can definitely go into more detail. Facebook ads is probably one of the most popular strategies that I'm seeing with my authors right now, but there is also Amazon, and there are things you can do on Amazon for free that can boost your discoverability. One of those is using good keywords. You cannot just translate your English keywords into German and think that that's going to do the trick. German people are going to have different cultural triggers, different words that are going to make them search for your genre. So, and that's one of the things that Emily and I can help you with if you wish is that we can do data analytics on your book and identify the top keywords so that you're getting the best possible chance there. And we do also offer the service that we can monitor your keywords and make sure that they are performing well over time. And you don't have to pay Amazon to have keywords or change your keywords. There's also categories, and we can do research for you to make sure that you are going into the right category. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you categories are extremely important. You want to pick maybe one category that's perfect for your book, but maybe has got stiff competition. And then you want to pick a category that's similar with less competition. And then I always like to pick a wild card. Something that maybe has very little competition, but it's not as perfect a match. And that's also super important for organic, i.e. free discovery. And then you can also do paid Amazon advertising, and that's something that Emily and I can help you with. And that is doing a deep dive into your book analytics, figuring out what are similar books to yours that are already selling well, and then getting your book next to that book in Amazon so that people are finding your book when you're getting that kind of discovery element. And you're kind of attaching your star to another rising star. And that, we find, really boosts your discoverability. But that's not free. And so when I say recommended expenditure, that kind of expenditure would probably work more or less the same if you wanted to do Amazon promotions. And that would be your ad spend. That doesn't include paying the person who's going to manage these ads, run all of the analytics, etc. I personally am not a big fan of Facebook ads. I find that they can go wrong very quickly if you're not keeping an eye on them. What I like about Amazon ads, if you're going to spend some money on marketing, what I like about the Amazon is it's data driven. So you can really track your keywords and how they perform over time. And you can also identify other trending keywords that you might not have and then switch your keywords for those. And so it's very driven by the data. And my biggest success so far publishing was a dark romance series that we published in Brazilian. And we put a huge amount of effort into identifying that trend, producing the series as quickly as possible, placing it perfectly in the market, and then pumping the ads as best we could. And I found that was a very successful strategy. In terms of non-paid advertising, you might consider a newsletter in the target language. You might consider separate social media in the target language. You might consider reaching out to influencers. We have seen some authors have success doing that also with book clubs. Italians love book clubs. Summer book clubs in Europe are super popular. And so it depends how much legwork you're willing to do. But the good news is you're always going to get better organic discovery in a market with less competition. And I think a lot of you are probably used to fighting it out in the English market. And the best thing about foreign language markets, the two best things, is discovering a whole new world of readers and fans for your books, and how much easier it is. Once you get over the hump of, oh my gosh, this is a foreign language, once you get over that hump, it is generally a lot more rewarding than publishing in English. Questions?
Max, didn't you say that, I know you've written a lot of books, didn't you say that you really don't even publish in English anymore?
The only reason that I publish in English is because I write in English, but I don't put any money into advertising my English publications. I only publish them because I've already got them. And actually, I write for art, and for my art, I write historical fiction, but I also write to market. And 90% of what I write these days is to market based on what I think is going to be trending. And I generally write romance, sweet and spicy, and cozy mystery. And actually, unless as any other questions?
How does the sweeter end of romance do? Like, because there's the dark romance. I don't write there. I write like medium spice level, but not real spicy, small town romance.
Okay.
How does that do in the foreign market?
Well, it depends on the language. I would say sweet romance and contemporary romance are probably the best genres, the most universal genres. And we've seen authors do well in every language in sweet and contemporary romance. It's a very popular genre. Specifically, Italy, if I had to pick one, I would like to see more sweet romance in Italy. And I would also like to see authors to use that as more of a selling point. So actually educating the foreign language readers about spice levels. Because I think that's something that's not happening in European publishing. They don't have the same everyday vernacular about this is sweet, this is 2 out of 5 spicy, this is dark romance, and there's so many different categories, and we don't have that kind of vocabulary yet in foreign language publishing, and I think that that's a missed opportunity. But one of the things sorry, no, you first.
How is the competition in that area with that genre?
Compared to some other genres, I'd say the competition is a little more. At the same time, demand is also quite high. And so that's why things like timing is important. The 2 major publishing seasons, summer and Christmas, how your book is positioned for those is relevant. Your cover, more or less, you can generally use your English language covers in foreign language markets. But it's also about doing your research, making sure that your cover is actually suitable. And there are some kind of tropes and trends for foreign language covers that you might like to take into consideration. But really the most important thing is cover, keywords, category, timing, and making sure that it's actually a good translation.
I have a question. You mentioned that in Italy specifically, book clubs were very popular, and that would be a good way to get into those markets. Do you have ways of reaching these book clubs? For example, here in the US, we have like Reese's book club and Oprah's book club and bigger book clubs. Do you have ways of helping the authors reach some of these book clubs that could help promote their books for them?
Yeah, okay, so very good question. Firstly, all of those services like BookBub and BookSprout and Fussy Librarian, they don't exist in foreign languages. And that is really a shame, and something that I'm working on changing.
So we need to start one.
Yeah, yes, and actually I have a book club well, we have started a book club in German, French, Italian, Spanish, and Catalan. And right now, I think I haven't checked the numbers, but say about 5,000 subscribers across Europe. And the biggest one, we've got more people in Italy than any other language. And we would deliver your book for free to the readers and then provide them with 6 weeks of guided content to drive engagement.
It's free?
Yes, you would provide the book to the readers for free, and we would deliver the content.
So like Fussy Librarian.
So very similar to Fussy Librarian, but more like an actual book club. So you get book content every week to your inbox. What did you think? A chapter summary, controversial questions, to drive that engagement. And the way that we make that profitable is, has anybody heard of Genius Links?
Genius Links?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Okay, and who here uses Amazon affiliate codes?
I have them. I don't use them because I was told we can't.
Well, let's imagine that you have put together a marketing campaign with Emily to spend $3,500 over the next 6 months promoting your book in Germany and France. And that campaign is going to involve more or less encouraging people to click on the link to buy your book from Amazon. If you use a Genius Link with your Amazon affiliate code embedded into that link, we will send that link out to, let's say, over the course of your campaign, 5,000 people are going to click on that link and they're going to go to your Amazon page. They're not necessarily going to buy your book. It doesn't matter, because they have used your Amazon affiliate code. Anything that they buy from Amazon in the next 48 to 72 hours, you will be paid the commission. And that's just one of the ways that you can
Even if they go on there and buy some fancy coffee pot.
Exactly. Or a widescreen TV or a pair of sneakers. And that's one of the ways.
So Donna brought up a point, and she stepped away from the computer, but I want to hear about that. Why doesn't Amazon? I think what Donna's saying is you can't use an Amazon affiliate link for your own book.
No, but I don't know if that's true. I'm doing it right now, but I'm using it through Genius Links. And also, it would be the book club promoting your book.
Okay, I see.
I mean, we can definitely get down to the nuts and bolts and make sure that works for each independent author. But last year we ran the book club 3 times in each language. And each time we run the book club, we do 1 book romance, 1 book general fiction, is usually crime, thriller, cozy mystery, and 1 kids book.
And how are they performing?
Well, Philippa Clark, who is a crime thriller writer, and she was our featured general fiction twice, and her books were Amazon bestsellers in every category, in every language. So I think we've had some success with the book club. And to answer the specific question, can we help you get your book into other general book clubs? Potentially, yes. And the good thing about our team is Martina, for example, is our Italian team leader, and she is in Italy. And so she is available to help with any things that you would like to achieve in Italy. For example, maybe an influencer, or a book club or a specific bookshop, or maybe you'd like to go to Italy and speak, and we can help you with that.
I'll do that.
Yes.
Isn't that great?
Who gets excited by the words European book tour?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Now I'm speaking your language. Okay, so
I have a question. It might not be germane to what you're talking about right now. Does the European market have the same negative feelings toward AI that the North American market does?
I mean, when you say negative feelings, what do you mean? You mean
Well, I would not use AI to write my books. My covers do have some AI components. And there are, if you go on social media, there was a post the other day of a woman that said, I found a series I really like, and now I'm seeing something that it was written by AI. And it was like, if you like it, why not read it? And so I just, and people running books through AI detectors and saying, oh, I'm never gonna, it's like a witch hunt. If people think that AI is in any way connected to your book.
Well, my answer to that is yes and no. It varies, and I think often you will find little pockets of resistance that will blow up, and then they'll go away. And we have also seen some clearly spiteful reviews.
Mm-hmm.
However, in general, and I think it's also really sad that people that leave written reviews, you're more likely to get a written review on a 1 or a 2 star than you are on a 4 or a 5 star. However, this is what I counsel my authors every time. Look at the overall star rating. If you've got 400 reviews and an average star rating of 3.7 or 4.2 or 4.9, that is what is going to indicate real value. At the end of the day, some people are gonna be miserable. As they say, haters will hate. But if you're selling copies of your book, you're consistently getting high star ratings, those few negative comments and potentially negative reviews are somehow much less important. But you do need to have a thick skin when you're publishing in any language, and especially in German, because Germans make a national sport out of, first of all, finding spelling mistakes, and even more so in German, because every couple of years the German government updates the correct spelling of thousands of words. So if you went to school in 1975, your idea of correct spelling will be completely different to someone who went to school in 1985. And Germans seem to take it as you are inviting them to tell you everything that's wrong with the book, and they'll give you a 2-star review, and then they'll buy the next book in the series. And so I also counsel my authors, especially when they publish in Germany, to look at the overall star rating and the read-through rate. Because if someone is giving you a 3-star rating and then they're going on to buy the next 9 books in your series, you're going to have to take that review with a pinch of salt.
Like, who the hell cares if they're buying them?
If they're buying the books, and that's why I tell them, don't read the comments, look at the star rating. And as long as the star rating, I would expect it to be no more than 0.3 or 0.4 lower than your English. So if your English is rated on average 4, I would expect your translation to be 3.6 or above.
To expand on that just a little bit, actually, Emily and I had a conversation about this the other day as I was reaching out to some authors and explaining, about this webinar and what this was, and coming up against the differences between generative AI versus an AI program, which I think you offer a program, not necessarily generative. And the difference being that a generative AI, you can throw it an idea and it's going to make up something out of nowhere that kind of fits. You can give it a couple prompts and then it's going to write whatever you want. Whereas Grammarly, for example, is not generative AI. There's a lot of authors who use Grammarly. Now, it is an AI, but it's not going to rewrite a story for you or take that information and try to steal it from you. And I think that a lot of authors have in their minds, or not just authors, but people in general, want to typecast AI across the board as being generative. When it's not. And so trying to explain that, and I don't know if you ever come up against that or how you overcome that.
Well, first of all, let me explain how the Scribe Shadow software works. So it's a closed system. First of all, that's very important. So anything that you upload or run through Scribe Shadow stays within the Scribe Shadow ecosystem. It's not being fed back into ChatGPT or Claude to train any models. And in fact, it stays within your account. So first of all, let that reassure you that your work is not going anywhere. And secondly, how does it work? Well, first of all, Scribe Shadow has got a master prompt. And that prompt may change depending on what you input about your book. So when you upload your manuscript, it will ask you the genre, the tropes, the subtropes. It will ask you, it has an and/or system. So you might say that you want the word detective inspector to always be translated in German as inspector detective. And we do a lot of that. So when we get your manuscript, we will look at all of the important vocabulary and then we will enter that into the software so that we're already getting an optimized output. So this software will create this master prompt for your book, and then you will choose the model. And that gives us maximum freedom to get the best model for your language and your genre. And it has all of the major models, ChatGPT, Claude. But like I said, it's a closed system. So Claude doesn't get to keep any of your material. And then, according to the prompt that it has created for you based on your inputs, it will translate every single word for word, one at a time. And then it will run through a second time and it will recalibrate based on sentence by sentence. And the reason that Scribe Shadow is so successful is because it breaks the book up into small chunks, runs each chunk through the AI platform, and then feeds it back. And by doing that, it can create a very consistent result. Scribe Shadow is not the only platform. There is also, for example, Bookshift. The problem with Bookshift is it is generative. And it is changing the content, it's changing the tone and the style too much. Scribe Shadow is much more accurate. And that's because instead of reading your book and then trying to produce a German interpretation, Scribe Shadow is translating word for word. It is a machine translation. And we find so far that Scribe Shadow gives the best results. Once we have,
But now when you put in your tropes, they're not having to do that. The author is not having to do that.
I would do that for you. So when we upload your manuscript into the platform, the person who does it, it's not usually me. It'll be the German team leader or the French team leader. They will do an analysis of your book first, identify the tropes, the sub-tropes. They will do a sample read and identify the tense and point of view. Is it first person? Is it third person? Those things are incredibly relevant for creating a good translation. They will enter all that information in so that the product that we get out of the AI is the best possible translation that we can produce. And that's important because we are the ones who are going to then edit and correct that manuscript. So we want to get the best possible results.
So that's where the human part comes in after that.
That's where the human part comes. Let's go back here. So we have a team of, right now, about 29 professional human translators, and they are all over the world. They are freelance. Some of them are full-time, some of them are part-time. And the service that we provide to Emily is a VIP service with 3 passes. So your manuscript will be translated by the AI, and then it will be read the first time by a regular translator. And they will do the first read in tandem with the English. So let's say Italian on this side, English on this side, and they will read as they go through. The second pass is done by a different translator, and they will read your translation without the English. And this is, we found, we didn't always do this. This was something that we added later because what we really want is a manuscript that's readable and enjoyable by a native Italian. They don't have the privilege of reading with the English. And once we added that second pass without the English, we noticed a strong, a much better output. And then you get the third pass, and the third pass is done by the team leader. So it's a senior translator, and they are looking at things like dialogue. Dialogue is so important. It has to be so natural and idiomatic, and it has to have flow. And that's why we recommend 3 passes if you're going to do an audiobook. Because it's the third pass is where you really lose the AI feel. And when I say AI feel, I mean anglicized. Anglicized German, anglicized Italian is not such a big problem for younger readers. They're used to an English sentence structure. But for older readers, or maybe for genres like high fantasy, you really want that third pass because we want German. We want Italian. And that's why we provide 3 passes, especially for...
And this is not this VIP is a special program that Max and I offer that they don't normally, do. Like, you can't order it on the website without having that VIP.
Right, it's usually on request, and it's also, we don't really have a fixed price for VIP. We would have a look at your project. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? What is the standard of the book? For example, we really don't like to do first person in Italian because it reads so awkwardly. So if you, for example, really wanted to do a 22 book series in first person Italian will probably be slightly more expensive because it's very, very difficult. Italian has got 19 tenses, and the one that you don't want to use, if you want to use the most difficult one, we might have to charge you a little bit more. And that's why we've got the VIP service, because it's bespoke. And it includes everything. So it includes the keywords, the categories, titles, blurbs, book descriptions, ad copy, formatting. It all comes included in the VIP service.
So genres, Donna and Sue both write in, well, Donna writes, as you know, small town romance, sweet and spicy. Sue writes similar, but it's more urban and probably a lot spicier romance. And then Stephanie writes fantasy with a strong romance component. And am I explaining that right, Stephanie?
Is it romantasy?
Yes.
It is.
Romantasy is a very, very popular genre, especially Italian and French.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and if you go on to any Amazon store, for example, Amazon.de is the German store, Amazon.it is the Italian store, and search my name, Maxwell Zacks, you will see lots and lots of books that we have already worked on. And this is authors that have voluntarily put my name in the translator box. And you will find a lot of romantasy.
Awesome.
And I recommend that you all hang out on Amazon.de and Amazon.fr and see what's there.
How do we do that?
Just instead of writing .com, you write .de
Oh, okay.
or .r or .it.
So .ee is
.es is Espanol.
And
Yes.
French, German is DE.
So this is the Amazon Germany store.
And you can ask it to translate for you.
Yes.
Oh.
I have got auto translate turned off, but you can auto translate and have it all in English. Here we have an example. I've searched my name in the Amazon store for Germany, and now you will see pages and pages and pages of books that we have done before. Here's a nice example. This is spicy contemporary romance. And I mean, look at those numbers. She's not confused.
how do you get to the French one?
Amazon.fr.
FR. Okay.
I have a
I
question.
would read some of that.
So when you're on these sites, when you're looking at the other countries, if you go to your book and you scroll down and look at the ranking, is that the ranking in that country? Like, will it adjust to the country that you're looking at?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So if you go down here, we're talking about the ranking here.
Yes.
Yes.
Crap.
And
Holy.
right.
Wow. And it wouldn't get that way without a great translation.
Right, but if you scroll down and you look at some of the comments, not all of the reviews are good. And
Well,
I
they're not. I
can't,
mean, people are people. Yeah.
right, and I can't control that. And some of the comments also say this is a horrible translation. But what's interesting is I have some books in my catalogue that were written by native German speakers. And those books also have negative comments at the bottom saying, this is a horrible translation, and this is not a
It wasn't a
translation.
translation.
But this book was a horrible AI. AI wasn't used. This book was published in 2015. So, my point is, never pay attention to the comments. Pay attention to the star rating. And why don't we just, I've never done this before, but let's just live dangerously. This is the book, the same book that we just looked at in the .com store.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. 5.4.
So you can see though that she's really catching up. Her French translations, they've only been out less than a year, and look at the traction that she's got on them compared to the English. Do you follow my point?
5,000 versus 900.
Right, but like I would consider that to be very successful. Taking into account those books are so fresh. Let's go back. This first book, how long ago was it published? 11th of November 2005.
So about 6 months.
6-7 months.
29, 30, and 67 ranking. Wow.
You know, that's the kind of thing that you are able to achieve in a foreign language market with your
They're so
translations.
hungry. This book.
They're so hungry. And I would be honest though, I know for a fact that this author is doing Facebook ads. But this is why I recommend that you hang out on Amazon.fr, Amazon.it, go there and have a look. Search my name, but also just look at the categories. Try and find the categories where you think your book might fit. See what's selling. See what the covers look like. Just for inspiration.
Do you recommend that they change their covers based on the country?
For romance, generally no. For cozy mystery, sometimes, yes. For crime thriller, maybe more likely. It really depends. And that's why I think a little bit of market research goes a long way. For example, not a lot of people know that the color yellow is associated with mystery in Italy. So it's a very good idea to use yellow for mystery, cozy mystery, crime thriller. So, you know, just little tips here and there that you get from local knowledge and hanging out on Amazon.
So can you go through the whole translation process again so that we can just kind of get an idea of how this all works? Because we've been through a lot of things, but as far as the translation and the VIP that we're offering and everything that's included in that.
Yes. So I've only got a little bit of time left. So what I'm going to do is take you on a behind the scenes tour of how I have a series that I'm selling right now in 6 languages. And if you like, I will show it to you. Let's go. Now we can get away from these boring graphs and go here. So this is a series that I'm currently writing called Short Kings. And I started this series based on strong analytics and data to suggest that this would be a trending topic. And these are some of the covers. And the series, well, the first book is Angel Garcia. And as you can see, it's available on Amazon, of course. However, I always prefer to sell direct. And so the Short Kings series has its own website where you can learn all about the books, and you can also check out and purchase them in ebook and paperback. And of course, the website is available.
So you're going wide as opposed to just KU.
Yeah, but well, I'm not in Kindle Unlimited ever.
Can you
But-
explain why?
Because because I prefer to sell direct, and I get a better return on my investment by selling direct. And I like to control my own business, and I really don't like how Amazon can suspend your account for absolutely no reason, willy-nilly, and then your whole business is gone overnight. And so it may be potentially more profitable to use Kindle Unlimited in the short term, but it's more secure to have a direct sales business. And so I am almost always wide. If I do use Kindle Unlimited, it's usually short term. It's to give the book
So-
a boost.
With those newsletters that you were talking about with the book club, they would get the free book from the website as
Well,
opposed to Kindle
Yeah, we've
Unlimited.
got different options. So you can make the book free on Amazon, with the Amazon promotions.
Mhm.
And that's usually for 5 days. And then we would time the book club to go out to coincide with your free promotion. And then we would also use Book Funnel. We give them the option to get the book free on Book Funnel. And that's worked quite well in the past. I always prefer to circumvent Amazon if possible. And another reason for that is because you own the customer data.
Yep.
You can
Yeah.
be a best-selling author on Amazon. You can sell 100,000 books, and you've got absolutely no connection to that author. You don't even know their name, their email address, and I'm not comfortable with that.
So you have a website
Yes.
and you sell paperbacks and you sell ebooks
Yes.
on that website.
Yes.
If, say I were to translate my books into German, and so then they would be on the German Amazon market.
Yeah.
They could be on my website.
Yeah.
I could elect in German not to use KU,
Exactly.
but my English translations that I have in KU could continue to be there. They're
100%.
completely separate.
Completely new
Okay.
books with new ISBNs.
Okay.
Now,
And-
what if, say, Donna and Sue or Stephanie or whoever wanted to sell online on their website in other languages? Can you help me translate that page?
Yes, and I'm so glad that you asked me that question because it fits perfectly with my next very interesting slide, which is this is how we manage your translation. So we have a series of very complicated spreadsheets where, and actually Emily and I are in the process of building several of these spreadsheets for some of her other authors, where we put all of the English words in the first column. And then we have our professional human translators come in and fill in the other columns. So we are not using AI for this stuff. This is all human-only translations.
Can you show that spreadsheet that you showed me?
Are you not seeing the spreadsheet? Hang on, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
We're
There we go.
seeing there.
I apologize. So this is an example. This is the spreadsheet for the Short Kings website. And we have all of the information, all of the words, all of the text in English. And then Africa, she's our Spanish team leader, will come in and fill in all of the boxes. And Fanny will come in, she's our French team leader, and she will come in and put in all of the French. And then when the web developer builds the website, it doesn't matter that they don't speak German, because they have the spreadsheet and all they need to do is copy and paste. And this comes in real handy when you start translating into Japanese and Korean and Chinese, because otherwise you have no idea. I can't read the letters.
So all I have to do is go in and create the page that looks just like the English page
Exactly.
and copy and paste this text.
Exactly. And we won't just do it for your website. we'll do it for your newsletters, all of the information that you need to build your newsletter. We will do your cookies policy, your privacy statement, and we can also help you with your QR codes, your Genius links, and we organize it all into one of these amazingly complicated spreadsheets. And we will do the same for your book. So,
And this is all in the VIP package.
this is all included. Your title, subtitle, blurbs, book descriptions, all the things that you need. The impressum is super important because each country has got different legal requirements for what you need to include in your impressum.
Will you talk about that for Germany, like how the VIP package includes the compliance check and the titles and all that?
So one of the things about publishing in Germany is that they have a law. It's called the unique titling law, and it means that two creative projects or products cannot have the same title or similar. So if you've got a crime thriller and the title is something like Silent Killer, it's very likely that that title is already taken in German. We have got, and this is a white label service based in Germany, in Berlin, and we can submit your title to them and they will do an extensive public records check to make sure that your title is copyright compliant. And if it's not, they will suggest a similar or better title that is compliant. And I particularly like this service because if your title is a pun or a play on words or an idiomatic phrase, you don't want a direct translation. You want a German person to have a good think about what is the best way to replace that joke.
Because it wouldn't make any
It
sense.
won't make any sense. And let me tell you, it is very difficult to be funny in German. So it comes with the copyright compliance. And in Germany, you are legally required to have a real person's name and address in the impressum. And that's why you can use mine. So you can use my name and my business address, and hundreds of authors have done so because they are using a pseudonym. So if you don't want to use your real name in the front of your book, you may use mine. And that is also included in the VIP service. So I think that's actually all of my slides. This is our team. There's me and Fanny, Martina, and Africa at the London Book Fair. And then the gentleman in the blue shirt is Marcus. He's our German team leader. And
We're not seeing very
oh
much.
gosh, there we go. First of all, I think what we'd like to do is have a look at your. So, how many books have you got? We're talking about a series.
In the series that I would do, I have 4 books right now.
Okay, so and are there any more books on the way, or it's finished?
Yes. Yeah, there'll be one more full length this year with 2 novellas.
Okay, nice. I think that what we would do is we would try and pick the best market for you. I think Germany and France are by far the safest options. Italy is our 3rd most popular language. It's a strong.
I write in first person.
Okay. So, I mean, we can also have a look at a sample of your book
Mhm.
and see how it will go. And we can also do a sample translation and see how it comes out because the results are just so variable. It really depends on your writing style as much as your genre. We can do a sample. I think Brazilian, Portuguese is always an interesting market because the cost per click is so low. And with a 5-book series, if you're getting a good read-through rate, then you can very quickly get a return on your investment because you know what people are like. They read the first book and the second book is already available. The third book is there for pre-order. The fourth book is coming out in 2 months. They're going to buy. So I like Brazilian. And I also like Brazilian because they have a strong ebook market. Whereas Italy, sometimes not as strong on ebooks. And let's be realistic. I mean, I would rather sell ebooks than paperbacks because I get a higher profit margin. Selling paperbacks only works super well in France because they buy so many. But French people will only buy your paperback if it's really pretty. So again, we need to look at your covers and make sure that they are really up to scratch because people in France buy paperbacks to read in public.
So do they like discrete covers?
Here's my paperbacks.
Oh, it's beautiful. Very
Thank you.
beautiful. In France, paperbacks are as much objects of display as they are objects for entertainment. So, yes, I think Germany, definitely. Then I would pick either French or Italian, depending on the sample, as my first choices. If you are interested in playing a long game, then Spanish. We can give you a neutral Spanish. It's neither European nor Latin American Spanish. It's international Spanish, which means that you can sell both sides of the pond. And I think you can build a marketing strategy that rotates different Latin American countries because they talk to each other. If you're a bestseller in Mexico, that's going to cross over into Colombia and Venezuela. And so if you've got someone managing your ads and keeping an eye on them and optimizing them, then you can use success in Mexico to build success in Colombia. So
what are you seeing as far as time frame for ROI?
Well, I'm going to decline to give a specific answer because it really depends.
Well, it's different on every author, yeah.
On the quality of the book and the author's original writing. But Germany is very, very strong. Followed closely by France. Followed, I would say, by by Italy, depending on your genre. Spanish tends to take a little bit longer to really catch on, but it's a huge market. If you can crack into Spanish, you've got many, many countries. You can sell your book over and over and over again. So maybe a little bit slower, but huge potential. And then, if we're feeling experimental, we can push into Asian languages. Amazon India, for example. You can publish in Hindi. You can publish in Japanese. We recently added Korean. And let me tell you this, if you are a bestseller in Korea, or you have strong results in Korea, you will sell well in Japan. And I think that that's something that we have to start getting used to when we're looking at international publishing, is that markets overlap. And so, and this is something that we're doing with some of Emily's other authors already, is kind of doing a blanket. We're doing 2 or 3 strong European markets, and then we're choosing 1 Asian language as a way to kind of hedge our bets. And I would recommend that you think strongly about really looking far into the future and what will be happening in publishing, in independent publishing in 5 years, in 10 years.
What is the competition like in each of those languages, would you say?
Really, it depends. Like Hindi, for example, is a huge market, and we can localize Hindian, which is Indian Hindi, and Hinglish, which is diaspora Indian. So Indians living in the UK, in Canada, in America. And there's not a lot of competition in Hindi. However, there's more piracy. So we recommend that authors think carefully about their publishing strategy. And one of the ways that you can combat this is with pre-orders. You can sell the first book, which may or may not be pirated, but the second, third, fourth books are only available on pre-order. And so you build that anticipation and you stop other people being able to get that book before you've sold it. So, you need to have a localized response. And that's why the all-inclusive VIP service doesn't just come with translation, it comes with international publishing support. You can come to me with your ideas, your project goals, and we can work it out together, a strategy.
So, Donna kind of asked, what do we do to get started? And I'm curious about that too.
Well, I would recommend, in a literal sense, that you make a time to speak with Emily about managing your project and developing your translation strategy. And then once you have come to a decision with Emily about moving forward, she will send your manuscripts to me for translation. Is that what you mean about how to move forward?
Kind of. So my series is 10 books, 9 full length and a novella that's the opener. And as you were talking, and you mentioned doing 3, I think I would do 4. I would do the novella and then the first 3 because they're kind of connected.
And what's your target language?
I've been thinking German.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it would either be German or French. Yeah.
And I mean, this is something that we see authors doing, is that you could do the first 2 books in German, first 2 books in French, and then you put book 3 and 4 up for pre-order on a fairly long pre-order. And that way, if you see that you are getting really strong sales on book 3 and maybe even book 4, then Emily calls me up in a panic and we put your translation through and we make sure that it's ready for the pre-order sale date.
Hurry, hurry, hurry. They need it.
And that's why I recommend minimum 3 months.
So on the pre-order, so talk about time frame too, because we didn't talk about that. Obviously, the human translators that you mentioned at the beginning for an exorbitant amount of money and an exorbitant amount of time.
Yeah.
So what makes yours different?
Well, right now we're looking at 4 to 5 weeks for your first book, and then 1 book more or less every 2 weeks until your project is finished. So for you, Sue, it would be first book, I would say 5 weeks, because we're also working with Emily, and then 1 book every 2 weeks.
You'll be able to totally finish having a book translated in 5 weeks and then in 2 weeks for book 2?
Yeah, and the reason is
Wow.
because it would take, so your book would go onto the list. We have a list with all of the current projects, and then the team leader would translate it, and when they're doing that, they would have a good look at the book. They would do a sample read, figure out all of the bits and bobs, the metadata, and then they would match it up with the perfect first reviewer. And they're not always available straight away. For example, we have a translator in German who, she always does horsey and sports books. She's done so many horse books by now that she knows all of the terminology for bridles and saddles and straps and boots. And so if you were to send me, for example, a 10-book equestrian romance right now, there's no way I'm giving that book to anybody else. She might not be available straight away. So it usually takes us a few weeks to do the translation, to have a good look at it, to match it up with the perfect first reviewer. And then they have really they have 7 days to do the first pass. 7 days
He has
to do
a
the second
People
pass.
that works for him, so.
So when the translation is all done.
Yeah.
And you're doing, I'm assuming you're doing the title page, the copyright page,
Everything.
the whole thing. Does it then come back to us? And do we need to format it?
No, so we would do basic foreign language formatting ourselves, and that's because every different language has got its own conventions on speech marks, hyphens, how dialogue should be formatted, and we'll do all of that in plain text. And we provide that to Emily, and then I'm assuming Emily is doing all of your print and ebook formatting. So we would set up the document perfectly, and then Emily would turn that manuscript into a book.
Okay, so you all will have it done, so that way all we gotta do is throw it into Atticus, and Atticus is still good enough to use
Yeah, I mean,
for
I use
foreign
Vellum.
translation.
I use Vellum, but Atticus is,
I use Vellum too.
Yeah.
I use
I use
Vellum.
Atticus,
that's
so,
okay.
Who uses Atticus as well?
okay.
But she's thinking about Vellum.
Yeah, so we would do the plain text formatting and make sure that it's as your readers in the target language would expect.
And after I do that for the first couple of times, because I know we have some back orders on translations, once I do the formatting, can I send you the EPUB and you make sure it looks good?
Everything. You can send us your covers. For example, German uses a lot of hyphens. So if your title is word hyphen word, does the hyphen, and it's on 2 lines, do you want the hyphen attached to the first word or the second word? Your designer can send us the mock-ups and we can proof the formatting, the design, everything for you.
And then who uploads them to Amazon, to KDP? Does that just go on my regular KDP account?
Yeah, you just use a separate ISBN number and set it up as a new book.
And
And
I usually go into .com. I'd have to go into whatever.
Yes.
Yeah,
Country.
it's on the first
Okay.
KDP page. When you click create, on the first page, it will ask you to select which marketplace
Mark.
and
Okay.
which language. And it's really important that you don't forget to tell Amazon that your book is in German. Otherwise, it will be categorized incorrectly.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You won't believe how many
Okay.
times I've forgotten to change the language.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right. What is the price we're looking at for one book?
Well, all of your pricing questions should be directed privately to Emily because she's going to be working out a price for each of you individually based on how many books you've got and other various factors, including other services that you use from her.
And I'm going to be offering payment plans because I know that some authors can't come up with all of it at once, even though it's going to be minimal compared to what the human translation is.